My whole perspective on aging changed on my 65th birthday. Sitting in a quiet coffee shop, watching life pass by, I realized something profound. We often let precious moments slip away because of habits we don't even know we're trapped in. After decades working with seniors across America, I've identified 7 critical habits that are silently stealing our joy and vitality. These aren't just minor behaviors, they're life-changing patterns that might be affecting you right now. I'd love to know which city you're watching from. Share it in the comments below. And if you're new here, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. Every week, I share insights that have helped thousands of seniors rediscover their zest for life. Now, let me share the first habit that shocked even my closest friends. Habit bar 1, the silent yes, breaking free from always agreeing. The day I finally said no was also the day I found my voice again. My granddaughter had asked me to babysit, again, even though I was exhausted from watching the kids 3 days straight. For years, my automatic response would have been, "Of course, dear." But this time, something different happened. If you're still watching, share your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever felt trapped in the cycle of always saying yes? You see, one of the most dangerous habits we develop as we age is becoming the eternal yes person. It happens so gradually we barely notice. We say yes to avoid conflict. Yes, to keep the peace. Yes, because we think that's what good parents, grandparents, and friends do. Yes, because we fear being seen as difficult or selfish. Let me share what research tells us. A recent study from the National Institute of Aging found that seniors who maintain healthy boundaries and express their needs have significantly lower rates of depression and anxiety. Yet, 68% of adults over 60 report difficulty saying no to family members. My own journey taught me something powerful. Every time we automatically agree to something that drains our energy or violates our boundaries, we're not just saying no to ourselves, we're teaching others that our needs don't matter. What changed everything for me started with a simple practice I call the 3-breath rule. Before answering any request, I learned to take 3 deep breaths. This creates space between the ask and my response, breaking the automatic yes reflex. Then I discovered the power of 4 simple words. Let me think about it. This phrase became my new best friend, giving me permission to consider how a request truly fits with my energy and schedule. I began my journey with small steps, practicing in low-stakes situations. Saying no to a telephone survey, declining an invitation to an event I knew would be exhausting. Each small no built my confidence for bigger ones, like that day with my granddaughter. For those watching who recognize themselves in my story, try this simple practice I call voice discovery. Each morning, take a moment to ask yourself what you really want today. Notice the things you've recently agreed to that don't serve your well-being. Practice gentle but firm responses in quiet moments, like saying, "I care about you, but I need to take care of myself too." If you're finding value in these insights, give this video a thumbs up and share it with someone who might need to hear this message. Remember, your voice matters, your needs matter, your peace of mind matters. It took me 65 years to learn this truth, but you can start reclaiming your voice today. The freedom I found in learning to say no respectfully has transformed my relationships. Now, when I do say yes, it comes from a place of genuine desire rather than obligation. And surprisingly, my family respects me more for it. Before we move on to the second habit, I'd love to hear your experiences. Have you struggled with always saying yes? Share your story in the comments below. Our community is here to support you. Now, let's talk about the second habit that's silently draining your joy. Habit 2, the invisible wall, defeating social isolation. The coffee cup sat empty on my kitchen counter for weeks. It was a gift from my weekly coffee group. World's best friend, it said in faded letters. I used to meet them every Wednesday morning, sharing stories, laughter, and the kind of comfortable silence only old friends understand. Then, gradually, I stopped going. Too tired, I'd tell myself. Maybe next week. Until next week became next month, and months turned into a year of solitude. If you're watching this video and recognize that pattern, you're not alone. Share in the comments if you've ever caught yourself pulling away from social connections. The path to isolation is rarely sudden. It's like a gentle tide pulling us away from shore, so subtle we don't notice until the coastline is barely visible. We tell ourselves it's normal to become less social as we age, that it's easier to stay home, that technology and social media can fill the void of real human connection. But here's what medical research reveals. Social isolation isn't just an emotional challenge, it's a health crisis. Recent studies from Harvard Medical School show that chronic loneliness can be as damaging to our health as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. It increases our risk of heart disease, weakens our immune system, and can accelerate cognitive decline. My journey back to connection began with a phone call. My daughter had noticed my withdrawal, and instead of just checking in, she showed up at my door with 2 cups of coffee. "Mom," she said, "your friends miss you." Those 3 words cracked something open inside me. Let me share what worked for me and what I've seen work for countless others in our community. It starts with small steps. That first Wednesday, I didn't go back to the coffee group. Instead, I called one friend, just one. We talked for 15 minutes about nothing special, but it felt like rainfall after a drought. Technology, which can sometimes isolate us, can also be a bridge. I learned to use video calls not as a replacement for real connection, but as a way to stay in touch between face-to-face meetings. My grandkids taught me how to join online community groups for seniors who share my interests, from gardening to book discussions. One of my clients, Sarah, found her way back through volunteering at the local library. "It's not about huge commitments," she told me. "Sometimes just being around people, shelving books in comfortable silence, makes me feel part of something bigger." The key is creating what I call connection anchors, regular activities that naturally bring you into contact with others. It could be a morning walk in your neighborhood at the same time each day, where you start recognizing familiar faces, or joining a senior center's weekly activities, where the simple act of showing up regularly creates opportunities for natural friendships to develop. If you're finding these insights helpful, please give this video a thumbs up and consider sharing it with someone who might need this message today. Remember, it's never too late to rebuild connections. That empty coffee cup on my counter, it's now my morning companion at the coffee group again. And each Wednesday, surrounded by the warmth of old friends and new stories, I'm reminded that we're not meant to walk this journey alone. Before we move to our third habit, I'd love to hear from you. What small step could you take today to reconnect with someone? Share your thoughts below. You might just inspire someone else to reach out too. Now, let's talk about the third habit that might be holding you back. Habit 3. The too late myth, embracing health at any age. For 20 years, I walked past that gym on my way to the coffee shop. Not for me, I'd think. I'm too old for that now. Until one morning, through those same windows I'd ignored for so long, I saw someone who changed everything. A woman in her 80s, moving gracefully through a gentle yoga pose. Her smile caught me off guard. It was the smile of someone who'd discovered a secret I needed to learn. If you're watching and have ever told yourself it's too late for better health, share your thoughts in the comments below. Let me share something that might surprise you. Research from the National Institute on Aging shows that people in their 70s and 80s who start exercising show greater percentage improvements in strength than those in their 20s and 30s. Think about that for a moment. Our bodies are remarkably resilient, eager to respond to positive changes at any age. My own transformation didn't start with heavy weights or marathon training. It started with a 5-minute walk, just 5 minutes. When that became comfortable, I added another 5. Now, 2 years later, those 5-minute increments have blossomed into hour-long walks filled with conversation, laughter, and a level of energy I hadn't felt in decades. The secret lies in finding movement that brings you joy. For me, it was joining a senior water aerobics class where the water's buoyancy made movement feel effortless. For others, it might be chair yoga, gentle stretching, or simply walking with a friend. The key isn't what you do, it's starting where you are and building gradually. I've learned that building a health team is crucial. Mine includes my family doctor, who celebrated each small victory with me, a physical therapist who taught me to move safely, and my walking group who keep me accountable with their friendship and morning coffee dates after our walks. If this message resonates with you, give this video a thumbs up and share it with someone who needs to hear that it's never too late to start. Remember, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. The same applies to our health. Whether you're 60, 70, or 85, your body is ready to respond to positive changes. You just need to give it the chance. Before we move to our fourth habit, I'd love to know, what's one small step you could take today toward better health? Share your commitment in the comments. Our community is here to support your journey. Now, let's explore the fourth habit that might be keeping you stuck in the past. Habit 4. The time machine trap. Living in the now. The photo album lay open on my coffee table every evening, page after page of memories, family vacations, work achievements, the kids growing up. I'd spend hours lost in those images, reliving what felt like better days. Until my therapist asked me a question that changed everything. When was the last time you made a new memory worth adding to that album? If you're watching and find yourself spending more time reminiscing about the past than living in the present, let me know in the comments. This message might be especially important for you. What I've discovered is that nostalgia is like honey, sweet in moderation, but sticky enough to trap us if we're not careful. Research from psychology journals shows that while occasional reminiscing can boost mood, excessive focus on the past can lead to depression and missed opportunities for present joy. The study found that seniors who actively create new experiences report 60% higher life satisfaction than those who primarily dwell on past memories. My own wake-up call came when my grandson asked me to join his virtual cooking class. My first instinct was to tell him about how I used to cook Sunday dinners for 20 people. Instead, I said yes to his invitation. That evening, laughing over our failed attempts at sushi rolls via video chat, I realized something profound. Joy isn't just in our memories. It's waiting to be discovered in every new day. The transformation began when I started what I call present moment rituals. Each morning, instead of reaching for old photo albums, I started planning one small adventure for the day. Sometimes it's as simple as trying a new coffee shop or taking a different route on my daily walk. Other times, it's signing up for that watercolor class I've always been curious about. The key isn't to forget our past. It's to stop using it as a shield against the present. Those precious memories are meant to be foundations we build upon, not caves we hide within. When I learned this, life began to expand in ways I never expected. Last month, I took my first pottery class. Yesterday, I learned how to create a digital photo album. Small steps, but each one adds a new page to my story. If these words resonate with you, please give this video a thumbs up and share it with someone who might need this gentle reminder to live in the now. Remember, while the past may glitter with golden memories, the present holds something even more precious: the opportunity to create new ones. Your story isn't just about what you've done, it's about what you're doing and what you're about to do. Before we move to our fifth habit, share in the comments. What new memory would you like to create this week? Our community is here to cheer you on. Now, let's explore the fifth habit that might be silently draining your joy. Habit 5. The endless giving, reclaiming your joy. The day my daughter said, "Mom, stop," I was standing in her kitchen, doing her laundry while babysitting her kids, cooking dinner and trying to clean the house, all with a migraine I'd been ignoring for days. "Stop trying to do everything for everyone," she said, tears in her eyes. "We need you to take care of yourself first. If you're watching and find yourself constantly putting everyone else's needs before your own, share a heart in the comments. This message might just change your life. For decades, I wore my self-sacrifice like a badge of honor. The more I gave, the more valuable I felt. Babysitting at a moment's notice, dropping everything for family emergencies, being the constant support system. It became my identity. What I didn't realize was that I was slowly disappearing beneath all that giving. Recent studies on caregiver health reveal a startling truth. Chronic self-neglect leads to a 63% increased risk of serious health issues. Even more revealing, caregivers who practice regular self-care are actually rated as more effective by those they care for. Think about that. Taking care of ourselves makes us better at taking care of others. My journey to reclaiming joy started with something small but revolutionary, learning to say yes to myself first. That morning, cup of coffee enjoyed in peaceful solitude. The gentle no to last-minute babysitting when I needed rest. The courage to ask for help when I needed it myself. What transformed my relationship with giving was understanding that boundaries aren't walls, they're bridges to healthier relationships. When I started honoring my own needs, something magical happened. My family began respecting my time more. They started asking, "Are you sure you're not too tired?" before making requests. They learned to plan ahead instead of expecting instant availability. If these insights are helping you, please give this video a thumbs up and share it with other givers in your life who might need this message. The truth is, you can't pour from an empty cup. Your energy, your joy, your presence. These are precious resources that need replenishing. Taking care of yourself isn't selfish, it's essential for sustainable giving. Before we move to our sixth habit, I'd love to hear, what's one small way you could prioritize your own joy today? Share your thoughts below. Sometimes just writing it down is the first step to making it happen. Now, let's talk about the sixth habit that might be quietly undermining your well-being. Habit 6, the Superman Syndrome, honoring your limits. That moving box changed everything. "I can handle it," I insisted, waving away my son's offer to help. One lift, one sharp pain, and 3 months of physical therapy later, I finally learned what my body had been trying to tell me for years. Being strong isn't about refusing help. It's about being wise enough to accept it. If you're watching and have ever pushed yourself too hard trying to prove you still can, share your experience in the comments below. There's a peculiar pride we carry into our senior years, this need to prove we're just as capable as we've always been. I see it in my friends who insist on cleaning their 2-story homes alone, in neighbors who shovel heavy snow despite their doctor's warnings, in myself every time I try to prove that age is just a number. But here's what geriatric research tells us. Acknowledging our changing capabilities isn't surrender, it's wisdom. A recent study showed that seniors who adapt their activities to their current abilities report 70% fewer injuries and significantly higher life satisfaction than those who push against their limitations. My own journey of acceptance began with that moving box incident. During physical therapy, my therapist shared something profound. "Your body isn't betraying you," she said. "It's protecting you. The question is, are you listening?" Those words transformed how I viewed my changing capabilities. I learned to work with my body, instead of against it. Morning stiffness became a signal to start my day with gentle stretches rather than rushing into activities. The occasional dizziness when standing too quickly became a reminder to move mindfully. What I once saw as limitations slowly transformed into guidelines for living more wisely. If these insights resonate with you, give this video a thumbs up and share it with someone who might need this gentle reminder. The real strength I've discovered lies not in doing everything alone, but in building a community of support. Now I have a wonderful system. My neighbor's teenage son helps with heavy gardening work. I share rides to the grocery store with my friend down the street. And yes, I let my children help with the moving boxes. Before we move to our final habit, I'd love to hear, what's one way you could be kinder to your body this week? Share your thoughts below. Your wisdom might help someone else accept their own journey. Now, let's explore our final habit, one that might surprise you most. Habit 7. The Heart's Second Spring. Embracing love again. Grandma, your profile looks great. My grandson beamed as he showed me the dating app he'd just installed on my phone. I was mortified at first. Online dating? At my age? But that moment led to one of the most beautiful chapters of my life, one I never expected to write. If you're watching and have ever thought romance and connection were behind you, stay with me. This message might open your heart to new possibilities. After losing my husband of 42 years, I believed that chapter of my life was closed. Society often treats senior romance like a footnote, something cute but not quite proper. We're expected to be content with memories, to fold up our hearts and store them away like old photographs. But research tells a different story. Studies show that meaningful relationships in our later years not only improve our mental health, but can add up to 7 years to our lives. Love, it turns out, doesn't have an expiration date. Initially, I resisted. I'm too old, I'd say. Nobody wants to start over at this age. Then I met Harold at a community center dance. He was taking lessons to surprise his granddaughter at her wedding. We started as dance partners, became friends, and slowly, something more bloomed. Like teenagers, we found ourselves looking forward to every class, sharing coffee after, talking about everything and nothing. What I've learned about love in this season of life is revolutionary. It's different from young love, deeper, richer, more honest. We bring wisdom to our connections now. We know who we are. We've lived through loss and joy, through challenges and victories. This makes our capacity for love not smaller, but more profound. Modern dating has changed, yes, but the heart's ability to connect remains timeless. Whether through community activities, mutual interests, or yes, even dating apps, they're not just for young people. New paths to love are opening up for our generation. If these words are touching your heart, please give this video a thumbs up and share it with someone who might need this reminder that it's never too late for love. The key is starting with friendship. In our rush for companionship, we sometimes forget that the best relationships often begin with simple conversation, shared interests, and genuine connection. My dance partner Harold taught me that love can begin with a simple "shall we?" and a willingness to take that first step. Here's what I want you to remember. Your heart doesn't know how old you are. It doesn't care what society expects. It only knows when it feels alive, connected, and open to possibility. Whether you're seeking romance, friendship, or simply deeper connections, you deserve to embrace this spring of the heart. Before we wrap up our discussion of these 7 habits, share in the comments. What's holding you back from opening your heart to new connections? Sometimes naming our fears is the first step to moving past them. Now, let me share some final thoughts about transforming these 7 habits. Remember that coffee shop where my journey began? I stopped by there this morning. Looking through the same window, watching people walk by, I saw something different this time. Not lives passing me by, but possibilities waiting to unfold. These 7 habits we've explored today: the silent yes, the invisible wall, the too late myth, living in the past, endless giving, ignoring our limits, and closing our hearts. They don't have to define your story. Every morning brings a new chance to choose differently. Start small. Choose one habit to work on this week. Maybe it's saying no to something that drains you, or yes to something that lights you up. Perhaps it's making one new connection, or taking that first step toward better health. If you found value in today's message, take a moment to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Every day, I share insights and strategies to help you live your most fulfilling life. And if this video resonated with you, give it a thumbs up. Your support helps our community grow and allows these messages to reach others who might need them. Before you go, share in the comments which of these habits hit closest to home for you. Your story might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. And if you know someone who's struggling with these habits, pass this video along. Sometimes the greatest gift we can give is the reminder that it's never too late to change. Remember, you're not just entering your senior years, you're stepping into your wisdom years. And wisdom tells us that the most beautiful chapters of our story might just be the ones we haven't written yet.